In this review, I'll fly with JetBlue in their Mint studio from New York to London. My journey started at JFK Terminal 5. I arrived on the air train, which was a few minutes walk away from the terminal along connected walkways. From the walkway, you could see the iconic TWA terminal, which is now a hotel. The one-way fare from New York to London in the JetBlue Mint studio cost just under $1,750. At 6:30 AM, the terminal was already very busy. There were dedicated desks for Mint passengers, but even these had queues. The baggage allowance was 2 checked bags weighing up to £70, which is about 32 kilos. You could take one bag as hand luggage, plus a handbag or laptop case. The security lines were long, but priority security was available for Mint passengers. After security, you walk down a ramp into the main departure hall. JetBlue does not offer a business lounge, and there was no paid entry lounge in the terminal. There were various food options in the terminal, but all had long lines. My flight was departing from gate 24, which was a couple of minutes walk from the main departure hall. On the way, Starbucks had a particularly long line. The gate area had plenty of seating. The flight was on an Airbus A321neo long-range aircraft. Registration November 4080 Juliet. It was just 4 months old. It had the unusual name Minty McMintface. This was my first transatlantic flight on a narrow-bodied aircraft, and I was slightly worried it might be bumpier than travelling on a wide-bodied aircraft. Boarding started a few minutes ahead of the scheduled time, with Mint passengers invited forward first. Mint seats, JetBlue's business class, were located at the front of the aircraft. All the seats had direct aisle access. There were 22 standard Mint suites, plus 2 Mint studios at the very front. I was in seat 1A. The studio was enclosed with a closing door onto the aisle. There was a main seat and a side bench seat for a guest. The main seat could recline to form a fully flat bed. JetBlue claims the bed to be the largest on any US domestic premium flights. There was a fixed counter beside the seat and a storage compartment by the window, next to which was a wireless charging mat. In the compartment was a bottle of water. In front of the seat was a fixed footstool, which formed the end of the bed. Below the entertainment screen was a drawer where you could store a laptop or iPad. Soon after I boarded, I was offered a pre-departure drink. Juice, water, a cocktail or sparkling wine were available. Behind the TV screen was a storage cupboard, where a complimentary pair of slippers were stored. Next to the seat were controls for the seat and cabin. However, these were very close to the armrest and it was easy to accidentally knock them. Next to the controls was a power socket and USB-A port. Above this was a reading light. Below the counter was a controller for the entertainment screen. Below the screen was a second power socket and USB-C port. An amenity kit was provided. It contained socks and a tuft and needle eye mask, mouthwash, lip balm, hand cream and skin wipes, and earplugs. Pre-departure, you were asked to select your meals using the entertainment system. There was plenty of overhead bin space in the cabin. Overhead there was a reading light and air vent. There was a manual safety demonstration. The jet bridge retracted and we began to push back.
Relatively quick 5 hours and 58 minutes, wheels up to wheels down, but good news, bad news kind of stuff is we got a slot time, so we're going to have to push back out here. We're going to sit on the ramp for a little bit before we start And then we get in the conga line and take off. But like I said, 5 hours and 58 minutes once we are in the air.
We parked up on the ramp for about 45 minutes before taxiing around the airfield to take off from runway 13 right. As we taxied, a video was played explaining the features of the Mint suite. Wi-Fi was available for free, both on the ground and in the air. You just had to watch a 30-second ad. On the ground there were respectable download speeds up to 19 megabits per second. We took off at 9:25 AM, about an hour behind schedule. The flight time to London was scheduled to be 7 hours and 14 minutes, but with today's routing of just under 6 hours, we could expect to arrive in London slightly ahead of schedule. Decent headphones were provided for the entertainment system. The screen was 22 inches, which JetBlue claim as the largest of any US carrier. The system had a range of content, including 299 movies, 127 TV shows, and 5 live television channels. In the air, the Wi-Fi download speeds got even better, hitting 76 megabits per second. Shortly after takeoff, a warm rosemary honey biscuit was served with a choice of drinks. Then it was straight into the meal service, which had been ordered pre-takeoff. You could choose up to 3 of the 4 available dishes. The table flipped out from beside the seat. The meal was served in one go on a tray. There was a linen napkin and metal cutlery. I opted for blueberries with thyme syrup, frittata with tomatoes, herbs and parmesan, served with a side of maple bacon, and a waffle with peach jam and maple syrup. As airplane breakfasts go, it was very good, and I liked that you could customise the exact dishes you wanted. There were 2 toilets for Mint passengers, both at the front of the cabin. They were in pristine condition, as you'd expect for a brand new aircraft. No premium toiletries were provided. The walls had a contemporary decoration. Back in the cabin, a switch closed the studio's door. A blanket and pillow were provided. The seat reclined to form a flat bed. The seatbelt meant you had to stay in the seat and couldn't really utilise the additional space created by the side bench. The end of the bed under the entertainment screen was tight. The seatbelt signs came on for turbulence a few times during the flight. However, the crew came around regularly offering drinks. If seatbelts hadn't been required so much, the reclined seat and side bench would have created a great space to chill. About 90 minutes before we were due into London, a light bite was served. Again, you pre-ordered this on the screen pre-takeoff, but this was more a take it or leave it option with just 2 dishes available. There was a tomato salad and a pizza slice. Some chocolate covered cashews were served on the side. Again, a linen napkin and metal cutlery were offered. It being late afternoon in London, it was time to explore the drinks options. A range of cocktails, beers, spirits and wine were available. I opted for the Chablis, which the crew refilled a few times. The studio featured a second table for a guest to dine alongside you. It was useful to store my used tray. As we prepared to land, a hot towel was served. At this point, the decent headphones were collected in and you were offered cheap in-air headphones for the remainder of the flight. We came in to land at Heathrow on runway 09 left and had a short taxi to Terminal 2. My overall thoughts on the flight? I was a bit sceptical flying a low-cost airline on a narrow-bodied aircraft across the Atlantic. I shouldn't have been on either front. There was some turbulence during the flight, but there was no difference in how the aircraft handled this compared to a wide-bodied jet. The onboard service was very good, with polite, attentive cabin crew. The food and drinks were well presented. The food was tasty, and I liked how you could customise your meal on the entertainment screen. The entertainment screen worked well, with a very large screen and a fair selection of content, including live TV news channels. The headphones were good. It's just a shame they were collected in about half an hour prior to landing, so you had an inferior experience for the end of the flight. The studio space was great with plenty of storage. The second seat would have been useful if I'd been travelling with someone else. As a bed, the seat was comfortable, but was very boxed in at the footwell. The pillow and blanket were a pretty standard offering, although the Amenity kit felt a bit skimpy with no toothbrush or toothpaste. The lack of a lounge at JFK didn't affect this flight too much. I had planned to arrive later than I would normally, so wasn't hanging around as much. However, had this been an overnight flight, I think I would have missed relaxing in the lounge pre-departure. That said, for a one-way flight, the price was great value. One of the advantages of the low-cost model is that they don't penalise people not booking a return with exorbitant fares. It was certainly a good experience. However, I'm not sure it would tempt me away from the perks that Oneworld or SkyTeam Status provide. But what do you think? Would you fly JetBlue Mint? Comment, like and share. And please do subscribe to Doors to Auto for future reviews.